What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Mind, Muscle, and Mission podcast. I'm your co-host Ben, and this person with the hefty mustache is my co-host Christian. What's going on, Christian?
Hey, yo, how's it going? Just another day, another $50. Gotta love it. So it's the best part of the week. It's hump day. So
That
that's
is
even
true.
better.
That is
Pushing
true.
into some storms, ready for some weather. So let's just buckle down for that one. That's all I can say.
Good, good. Well, we're fortunate enough to bring these gentlemen on. We'll get into what you gentlemen are doing, but it's a remarkable task. I didn't know it even existed, but the reason why you guys are doing it is more important. So let's get into a little bit about your guys' history, and Christian, you can take it off from here.
Yeah, for sure. Just kind of what I know we're going to go into everything that y'all are doing, which we're just beyond excited about, especially me knowing a little bit of that rowing heritage and just everything behind it, especially in living in Hawaii too. So I know it's kind of a culture that I have. But Roy, if you can kind of start us off, sir, just kind of tell us about your history and tell us, just why you joined and just your career. If you could.
Yeah. California native, grew up Central California, just outside Travis Air Force Base, a little town called Vacaville. Uh, Parents divorced, reconnected with my dad later on, and he had a couple guys working for him that were that had some sons that were Rangers and Special Forces ODA guys, and fell in love with the stories that those guys would tell on the property, and got inspired and just kind of looked at my dad and I want to be an airborne ranger. And then, off I went. That was in 1988. Fast forward 17 years, I enlisted, went off to become, a ranger there at the 1st Ranger Battalion in Savannah, Georgia for a number of years. And then my career kind of split off into a bunch of different directions from there. As an infantry guy, and then 17 years later went to officer candidate school, and then did another 15 years on active duty as an O in a number of different really great assignments, 173rd Airborne, RTB, Joint PWMA Accounting Agency, and retired recently in 2019. So 31 years on active duty. Beautiful family, 2 kids, wonderful wife, and we're here in central New Jersey operating a catering company. My wife's a chef, so
Awesome.
that's a little short about me.
That's awesome. I mean, that must have been honestly kind of incredible going in from a whole, if you want to call it cold militarized, just preparing for just a global conflict going into this global war on terror. It must have been a crazy transition to see that amount of military and just movement in that time.
Yeah, tons of it.
Yeah. All right,
Yeah,
Mike, sir, I've not had the pleasure of meeting you, but please fill us in.
All right, well, name is Mike Kendall. I grew up in Connecticut. All I ever wanted to do is join the military and jump out of airplanes. Got a contract for the 82nd and showed up to airborne school. In airborne school, some guy with a black beret, about 2 weeks after the invasion of Panama, came around and basically said, "Who wants to be a ranger?" I should have known then, never volunteer for anything, but put my hand up. Next thing you know, I was at 1st Ranger Battalion and spent better part of just under 5 years there. Loved it. It was the best foundation. I look back, if I feel like if I went anywhere else in the military, would not be the person I am today. Gave me a focused direction. Left there, as all Rangers have to do when you get your E5, and dropped an SF packet and did another 17 years in SF. Was out at 10th Group, SWIC, and finished up my career at 3rd Special Forces Group.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And
Not as good as Roy's. I mean, Roy's done it all.
Yeah. Well, you dabbled in a little bit of different groups, which is always nice just to see the culture of the groups itself. But yeah, both of you gentlemen have extensive careers and bounced around quite a bit, which is remarkable.
Yeah, for sure. Alrighty, sir, your final go. Give us an introduction.
Let's go with Jerry.
Sure.
Where's Jerry?
Where's Joe?
I'm right here, guys. I'm
I see
incognito.
Chris on board.
Incognito. All right,
This is
so
the podcast expert.
Hey, Chris, we'll go with you in the meantime, sir. All yours.
Yeah, so pretty simple. Out of high school, was kind of more of a hooligan than anything else, and really didn't see myself going anywhere else other than jail. So I decided to join the Army. Went to the 82nd as an infantryman. Wasn't going to stay in the Army that long, but then I had a kid. You know, the same old story. Got married young, had kids young. Didn't see an opportunity to really get out at the time, so I stayed in, but I knew I couldn't stay in the 82nd, although, you know, it's a great unit. I just, for me personally, wasn't a good fit. So I went to selection, got selected, and then from the Q course, went to 5th Special Forces Group and was there the entire time for about 16 years. Besides my SWIC tour where I instructed for a little bit, but going to be retiring this summer out of 5th Group. So yeah, that's my career in a nutshell.
Yeah, starting the transition phase, huh?
Oh yeah,
It's a good
Gotta
feeling.
love it. Gotta love it. It's painful and happy at the same time.
oh yeah.
It'll be good.
Sure.
And then Jerry, coming to you from Chattanooga, and I got
Yeah.
obviously got a shout out to Chattanooga because I now live here, and it's a beautiful city. So, Jerry, what you got?
it is great, by the way. It's been my home for, I think, the past 10, 12 years. Love it. I'm from Annapolis, Maryland.
You guys show him even on?
Did
No.
not want
Yeah.
to join the military to save my.
I'm not seeing him from my side.
I do.
Can you hear me though?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
You're good.
Cool. I didn't want to join the military. Family was all military. I went to college as an athlete and lasted a year before they gave me the boot. And then I didn't really have a choice but to join the military. Got a Ranger contract, ended up falling in love with it. Did about 4 years at Ranger Bat, and then went to the mech world and got stuck in that deployment cycle for the next 17 years, and finally retired at 20. After that, DC, worked for the FBI for a few years, and then fully retired, headed down here to Chattanooga, and been here ever since.
Love it. Love it. So let's get into it. RangeOars Row. Let's start from the beginning. Who started this? I think it was you, Roy, right? And how did you get connected with Mike, Jerry, and Chris? And then second part is, Mike, Chris, Jerry, why did you guys accept?
We'll go back just about a year and a couple months. Some other Ranger brothers of ours, Guy Phillips, Joe Leach, Craig Foreman, did this exact same thing, rowed across the Atlantic Ocean in World's Toughest Rows Atlantic Challenge in 2020, the end of 2023 into 24. That's a 3,000-mile row from La Gomera, little Spanish island in the Canaries, and they do that race from there to Antigua. And they were rowing for an organization called Fight or Die, which has been doing this since, I think, 2018. They were putting teams into this race, and they were raising money. They had their own programs for mental health treatment for veterans, and then this last year they closed their doors. But my inspiration came from them. I was just captivated from the very beginning once we heard that they were going, and it was just something I couldn't put down. I couldn't take my eyes off the screen and track them across, across their entire journey. It was just fascinating. When what those guys were willing to put themselves through, to raise money for some, a really good organization that was doing some great work with the veteran community. And so I kind of just felt a calling, if you want to, call it that. And when I went to First Range Battalion's 50th anniversary last year, about a year ago now, I started recruiting for my wife and I stood up RangeOars Row, the nonprofit. She's the one that kind of pushed me into doing this. She gave me the encouragement and said, "Hey, you're even thinking about this. You just need to do it." And I was like, "Okay." So at the reunion there in Savannah, I started the recruiting process. Didn't pick up much interest while I was there, but then I ended up putting out a Facebook post. I was like, calling all interested parties, here's what I'm planning on doing. Here's why I want to do it. Looking for guys that, looking for a crew of 4 initially. And if you're at the least bit interested, you need to be prepared to give me your all. Because once we get this thing rolling, we're not stopping this train. And so I think Mike was the first one to call me. And then not too long after that, Jere called me. And we started to form the team. We did have another Ranger on the team, but unfortunately he had to, we had to part ways with him. And then picked up a guy, Sean Dillard, who was handling our merch starting last summer. He's an Army veteran and did 6 years in the Army, but when we lost that other Ranger, he immediately got on the phone to me and asked if he could row. And I was like, "Hey, you're doing a good job with the merch." And he didn't do any time in special operations, but he had he's got a heart of gold. He had the will and determination to step in, to fill a gap. And we pulled him onto the team. And then we launched on our first training mission down in Key West to row down there. And then he developed a hernia, which needed surgery. So the recovery from that would have been too rough. And I wasn't, comfortable, allowing him to row. So we had that tough talk. He took it well, he took it hard, but, his heart's still going 100 miles an hour in the same direction we are. He's still handling our merch. He's still helping out with fundraising. But then by chance, Mike had the boat getting its graphics done down in Clarksville, and he took it to a boat show. He took it to a boat show. And our only other competition in this race that has signed up was another veteran team, a bunch of special forces dudes. And we were always talking probably behind their backs, and they were probably doing the same thing. Like, who the hell are these dudes? These are our competition. Okay,
Absolutely.
And in walked a boat show out of nowhere was Chris Farrington. And I imagine the look on his face was like, we have a boat like that. And but their team is called Courser Racing, and they have a nonprofit. They're a team of 4 SF and special operations guys as well. And a conversation started between Chris and Mike about Courser's race this year. Unfortunately, they needed to postpone it and to push it right another year. And then the conversation just led into, hey, we've got a gap to fill. We're all pointing in the right direction in this fight, with veteran mental health. Let's do some collaborating. Let's join forces. And so with that, we pulled on 2 members of Courser Racing, Chris Farrington and JT Molinax, to crew our boat. So we increased from a crew of 4 to a crew of 5 for this race.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you just tactically acquired them.
Yeah.
Just like, yep, thank you.
S4
Honestly,
acquisitions are,
the fates were odd because we didn't even go there to look at boats. We there was like a live animal show for kids. We're like, we got a 2-year-old. We're like, let's take him to that. And as soon as we walked in, I looked at my wife and I was like, oh man, we should have brought our boat here, but it's in Charleston. And we turn the corner and there's RangeOars, and Mike and his wife are standing there. My wife beelines it to Mike's wife, and then just after that was
History.
where we're at today.
after that, it was history. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, let's put these two organizations' heads together and figure something out. Because we're all aligned in the same mission. Our goals are aligned, and we all have the love for the veteran community and taking care of our brothers and sisters who are struggling out there.
Yeah,
Hey,
absolutely.
Ben, and I'll throw out there, I mean, Roy had 2 or 3 guys that he had reached out to with no joy. I had one with no joy. So people lining up to do this row, it's like trying to get people to go to scuba school. It's far and
Yeah.
beyond.
I know
So
that. Yeah, absolutely. And it's a big commitment, right? And
No, it's a huge, yeah.
it is.
I thought active duty was tough. Running this nonprofit and wrangling these cats, because we're so geographically separated. I got 3 teammates in Tennessee, one's in Texas, and I'm in New Jersey. It's like, oh my gosh.
and then
Dude,
Jerry,
what I'm loving behind all of this, it's not the oh no, it's the difficult part is it's going and gathering people. It's not the entire feat of rowing across the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah.
Forget that. That's like, yeah, that's easy, whatever. But let's go finding 2 people to go do it with us is like pulling teeth tooth and nail.
You get some yeses, and those
wasn't-
yeses become no's after they talk to their wives or like look at
Yeah.
their schedule.
Mhm.
You would think.
Yeah, it's
30 to 40-foot swells at times, and
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's about the ocean conditions. I think it's like I know all of us who have families, our families are suffering right now because it's like we're on deployment.
Yeah.
We're always gone. Like I'm home for maybe 10, 15 days, and then we're back in Florida training. We're down there for 10 days, or we're doing a fundraiser. We just did a collaboration this last weekend with Freedom Brew, who invited me out because I have the boat up here in New Jersey. Went down to the Atlantic City Beer and Music Fest, and he invited, he got me a slot in there, and we pulled the boat into the convention center, and we did some fundraising and some networking and some the awareness part comes in to all that and talking to people. And I think, Ben, like what you said earlier, is like, you never heard of this race before. Well, you know what? A year and a half ago, neither did I.
Yeah.
It's not big in the U.S. This sport was born out of the United Kingdom many years ago. People have been rowing the oceans for almost 100 years, one way or another. But as an organized sport, this thing was born. Mike, correct me if I'm wrong. Like a bet over a bottle of whiskey.
yes.
Talisker,
From New York, yep, Talisker whiskey.
out of the UK. Some dude's like, hey, I'll bet you a bottle. Let's race across the Atlantic from New York back to the
Europe.
UK.
Wow.
Over a bottle of whiskey. And so Talisker sponsored with Atlantic Campaigns the birth of this organized race. I don't remember the exact year. It's probably almost 2 decades
2010
ago.
is when it sponsorship kicked off.
It kicked off as what was called the Talisker Whiskey Atlantic Challenge, and that was the La Gomera to Antigua thing they've been doing for almost 2 decades now. And then in 2019, it was bought and fell under a new brand, World's Toughest Row.
Okay. And let's give the listeners just give us kind of like the details of what is the world's hardest row.
The world's toughest row is the organization itself runs with Atlantic Campaigns, runs a race twice a year once across the Atlantic and once across the Pacific. The Pacific route's new. It's only been done twice so far as an organized sport. Uh, so for our case, it's a 2,800-mile row from Monterey Bay, California, to the island of Kauai. Hanalei Bay will be our landing spot. And the ocean, the ocean's vast. It's like one of the only domains that man hasn't conquered yet. You know what I mean? It throws everything at you, especially the Pacific route. Getting off the continental shelf is 700 miles of suck. It'll be cold, wet, miserable. We'll be bashed on the starboard side of that little boat of ours, for a week and a half, with 20 to 30-foot swells. And then as the winds come from the north down the California coast, and then they start to bend into the Hawaiian chains. So, 10
Life becomes good.
10, 15 days, it kind of just like overnight changes conditions from cold, wet, miserable suck to hot, miserable suck, like overnight. And it's, it's completely unsupported. There is nobody out there that's following us. There's no support vessel. We carry all of our food on board, which is like camping food and MREs. There's a desalinator on board that creates our drinking water and cooking water out of the sea. It creates 10 liters of water in 30 minutes if it's working. And generally they work, but sometimes they don't. And some teams out there in the past have had some pretty horrible days trying to troubleshoot, some of the systems on board these little vessels. They're all equipped with everything that you need: the VHF comms, the chart plotter, navigation, AIS, which is the automated identification system, very important, kind of radar thing that lets other ships see us on their radars, because we will be passing through shipping lanes. And if you can imagine, in the middle of the night, a 26-foot boat with a 6-foot beam, in limited, no moon, so limited visibility in the middle of the night, and here comes a 300-meter shipping vessel, out of nowhere, and that AIS is going to tell them we're there. VHF comes within 7 miles. We should be able to talk to them, but not all ships in the Pacific talk to you. People will say that a lot of the foreign carriers out there just don't give a crap about the little boat out there. So we're going to have to, our heads are going to have to be on a swivel 24/7 for the 35 plus days that we hope to get across. So.
How many boats are, I guess, groups of people are doing this at one time?
For the Pacific route this year, I think there are 7 total boats.
Okay, so very small footprint.
Very small footprint. We may see the other boats in the first, couple hundred miles as everybody starts choosing their routes as they leave Monterey Bay. And then we might not see another human soul for, a month until we start all converging on Hawaii.
Interesting. And then it's all, go ahead, Christian.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, now the Army cats can finally relate to the Navy a little bit.
No, right?
Yeah.
It's like, this sounds like an average Navy deployment. I don't know, but no.
Yeah. And I mean, the ocean, you're right, Roy, the ocean is unforgiving. And that's something that is very, it's the unknown. And you don't know what you're going to get each day, each minute.
No, I know.
Which I think is pretty cool. Now, so you talked about a little bit about like the navigation system and the charts and the water filtration and the food, but what else do you guys have on the boat to help you guys sleep, rest? I mean, it's a small team, many miles. What's you guys' plan for that?
Yeah, it's not too vast, man. It's a small boat, so we have pads in the cabins, and they're smaller cabins. So you're going to lay down on that. You'll be wet most of the time. So if you bring a sleeping bag, you're just going to be miserable. So most of us are just going to have like a whoopee that we'll switch out, every now and again. And then honestly, it's just like going to the field, lickies and chewies. Like,
Yeah.
Moon Pies just kind of hooked us up. So we're going to have like a lot of, fatty cakes on board, and, just reserve those for the times where
Jared's
you're
hooked
really
us up with a
sucking.
bunch of moon pies.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Coming
that's-
from a fitness enthusiast, and he's bringing the moon pies. I like
Yeah.
it. I like it.
But can you get a mama san so we can,
Yeah.
have that in a Coke?
So the guy,
everyone's kind of got their thing going, like
Yeah.
audiobooks, music playlists, just anything we can to keep ourselves sane. Especially at night when it's pitch black, everyone's who's supposed to be sleeping is sleeping, and you're tired of talking to your row partner, so you're just rowing.
Sleep, eat, row.
Rinse and repeat.
Yeah,
yeah,
night has
it's
been,
like a washing machine. Yeah, eat, sleep, row, repeat.
night has been the hardest part
And
so
we're
far.
going to do that. The rowing. Somebody will be rowing. At least two of us, 24/7, all day long, all night long, unless it's not safe to be on deck. In case of storm, sea state is too dangerous to be out on deck, and then we'll throw out this giant parachute anchor. It's a big 10-foot parachute on about 150-foot 1-inch line, and you hook that to the bow line, and it'll slow your drift, and then everybody gets to the cabins and kind of just hunkers down, wait for it to be for the conditions to be safe enough to get back out on deck and put the oars back in the water.
Okay, so you guys have some procedures in place for that.
There'll be a lot of like capsize procedures. We're gonna we've got to rehearse those.
Hangover.
These things do capsize, and they are designed to self-right. And our boat has done that before. So it capsized on the last race from the team that owned it before us last year. And it did it. These boats that are made by Rannoch Adventures out in England do exactly what they're supposed to do. It's just like a bobber. It just like you flip it over. You may have to have, if there's a couple guys in the cabins, you may have to pound on the outside of it. Whoever's outside in the water. Hey, shift your body weight to port, to help it roll.
Yeah.
But they do exactly what they do. The design of this particular boat, according to Rannoch, has a 100% safety record as far as its design and its performance. So, if anything's gone wrong on any of these boats, it's been human error. In the past. So yeah, it's a brilliant design. It's got everything we need to include the 5-gallon bucket.
Yeah,
Which
you need that,
which is our restroom.
especially with the moon pies Jerry's bringing.
But say, yeah, with the moon pies, that's going to be the best advertisement. If you ever want to get sponsored by somebody, just get moon pies like right on the side of that. That would be
A big
great.
moon pie sticker on the hull of the boat.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. It will be the most isolated moon pie consumed in world history, probably.
We'll be the only vessel in the history of this race to have a like this kind of food.
They gave me
It's not
3
like something from
cases.
GNC or somewhere else, or some
Cool, man. It's a moon pie.
supplement that's just like this race is powered by moon pies.
I like
It's
it.
the American way right there. Hey, it's a veteran organization. I'm surprised it's not just being ran by the little tornadoes from the shopettes and energy drinks, and that's all it is. And nicotine, just pure nicotine and rage.
Cigars, moon pies, and monsters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Y'all have just think about this. Y'all have like a bottle of whiskey or something like that y'all have reserved for making landfall in Kauai.
Was gifted when I retired. Some close friends of ours here gifted me, and I am considering bringing it, a 25-year-old bottle of Macallan.
Oh gosh, McKellen is just God's gift to man.
So that may find its way on the vessel, and we may take some sips of that at different milestones throughout the route. Halfway point, 1,000 miles to go, 500 miles to go, 100 miles to go.
Nice.
That's
And then
amazing.
you guys do have
And then we're coming in drunk.
all rowing different angles and everything.
I know.
Just be swimming instead.
Yeah.
But you have that, talk about a little bit how you guys are going to sleep. You have something I saw in one of your guys' posts that it's like something that you put over your eyes and your head that
Yeah.
is supposed to maximize your recovery.
Yeah. So we got linked up. So that team I told you about of the other Ranger buddies of ours that did it 2 years ago worked with a chiropractic doctor in Manasquan, New Jersey, Dr. Vera Gupta. And she has hooked us up with Dr. Porter, who is the designer of this thing that Mike is holding. It's called a Brain Tap. And it is light and sound therapy.
Okay.
That it does something with the blood flow through your ears and the light pulses that you receive to kind of rewire your brain. And I've been using it. We all have one, and I've actually been quite pleased with the results. It helps. There's a lot of programs in the app that help you get to. It helps train your mind to get into that delta and theta sleep level.
Okay.
And then it does other things like it kind of
Depression, anxiety,
it's a place to
flying.
go to like decompress. You listen to the sound or Dr. Porter talking in your ear about different things, and like he's talking like in 4 different directions about 4 different things, and your mind, I don't know, it just your mind
works.
is like consuming all of this data that you're being exposed to. All the blood in your body flows through your ears every 2 to 4 minutes or something like that. And so the light the light therapy that comes through the earphones of those things is doing something to help the oxygenate. That's one word I can't say. To oxygenate the blood.
Oxidization.
Yeah, that one. It helps that to get more oxygen to the brain.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
I don't know exactly how it works, but
But it works.
I enjoy it, and it helps me get to sleep. And so the Joe Leach and Guy Phillips were saying, kind of wearing that thing for about 17 minutes kind of made us feel like we got like 2 hours of sleep,
Nice.
So it was pretty neat. And when we're done with this row, we're going to go down to Dr. Porter's facility, the whole team will, to do sort of this post-race analysis. That he's got this big facility with Brain Tap down in North Carolina that we've been invited down to sort of like, hey, let's see how this has the results or how you guys are doing after 4 or 5 months of using the Brain Tap and crossing an ocean with it.
Awesome. That's essential, right?
Yeah.
All right.
I can't imagine.
Hey, Christian,
sorry.
hold on. We're going to take a 5-second break real quick.
Awesome. So I honestly, hearing all about it, I can't imagine if that was something like, I can't imagine the production can be crazy compared to what, the DoD sends, but I can't imagine if that device could be a standard issue thing. I can't imagine how improving that could be if you have to have guys and gals limited rest and just, maximize every single second they can get. I think it'd be really beneficial.
Yeah, that's
I
I have an aversion to doing stuff like this. One background being 18 Bravo. I'd rather just suffer and live my life suffering. Um, so getting on board with this, I was like, yeah, I'll give it a shot. And I will say, um, yeah, I mean, especially for like long planning sessions or stuff that you're doing, pre-mission before you actually kick out to do anything. Man, these things would be, I mean, 20 minutes, you really do feel like you've taken a solid nap, and can kind of just keep going afterwards. I don't think it's going to replace sleep, obviously, but somebody who's been up for 12 hours planning an operation or a training mission or whatever can pop that on their face for about 20 minutes at a time, like at least twice within that period. Yeah, they'll be on cruise control mentally, which is cool.
Yeah, which is needed. Um, so Jerry, how have you seen or what have you done to uh, create a training regiment for these gentlemen, uh, especially since you guys are so much so spread out. What does the training look like for you guys, and then how often do you guys go down to Key West or wherever to practice?
At first, we would do online training since we're so spread far apart. So we did that for a few
Still
months,
in
about
trouble with Jere.
3 days a week. But then on our last trip
Jerry.
up to New Jersey, we got hooked up with a personal trainer who donated his time. So basically, he has daily workouts for us to do. Um, Calls us out when we don't do them. Really keeps us in check. Um, so we do those daily. And then our training trips are basically 10 to 15 days every month. We head down to Fernandina Beach. There's a big rowing community down there. And we'll go out on that time between 3 and 5 days on the water. And we just, like our last trip, we headed out for, I think, 60 hours. And we just live on the boat for that 60 hours doing the 2 up, 2 down rotation rowing. And this trip was pretty cool. We dealt with some things we hadn't dealt with before, seasickness. So seeing like how we would pick up when someone goes down, when someone gets injured, you would say how we would pick up the rotation and pick up the slack for them. So it was a big learning experience this trip.
And then how many trips have you guys done collectively down south?
4, I believe. Three. 1 to Key West, 2 to Fernandina Beach, and then April 10th we leave for our 4th.
Okay, and is that the last one?
Yep, that'll be the last one.
And then it's game time.
Yep. Then May 20th we hitch up the boat to the trailer and head out to California.
May 20th. That's awesome. So we kind of went through and discussed, what the boat is, what the race looks like, what technology you guys have on there. But let's go into the most important thing, in my opinion, is the reason why. And just retiring December of last year, and facing my own mental health battles, the importance of reducing the stigma, the importance of identifying or exposing all these nonprofits out there that are supporting our veteran population. Just talk a little bit about the reason what you guys are doing this for, and then go into some of the nonprofits that you guys are working with that are continuing to drive this fight.
So let me go back. So we all hear the number 22 all the time, right?
Yeah, which is low.
Yeah, which is low, and I didn't know how low it was until I was at a Hard Rock Charlie Foundation summit last year, 2 years ago, and they had an organization there, names on the tip of my tongue, but anyway, recent studies have shown that due to misreporting, underreporting, that number is at least double that. And it wasn't until after that Guy Phillips and Joe Leach and them raced, and it was like this this light bulb that went off in my head, and having known a number of dudes that have committed suicide, and you see it almost every day on social media. The guys and gals are they're reaching out, or they're giving, they're kind of playing out some kind of sign that they're struggling, and then you sort of throw up the bat light, and start activating people to get into that, that outreach mode, and kind of try to pull them into the fold before before something tragic happens. And so that kind of hit me hard, learning learning where the numbers really were, having it hit close to home, and then seeing what's going on social media. I just felt like, here I am, I'm retired. I'm trying to find purpose in my life. After, you get out of the Army, or whatever service branch you were in, and all of a sudden, you were told what to do, where to go, how to do it for however long you were in. And then all of a sudden, nobody's telling you what to do or how to do it, or if you were a leader, there's nobody to lead. And it's like, I used to catch myself in a room in my house, just kind of standing there wondering what I should be doing now. And just a culmination of all of that, the summit that I was at, the new numbers, the friends that I had known that have committed suicide, and it was like, damn, if there was only something I could do, where do I fit into this battle? And watching those dudes do it 2 years ago, and seeing the effects, and seeing the money they raised, that was going to help veterans, I was, that's where, I like I said, I kind of felt the calling, and it kind of just snapped, and then, this is it. This is the vessel that I'm going to use to raise money, as much money as we can, to help our brothers and sisters. That's where I stand on it.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Mike?
For me, it's very similar to what Roy said. I mean, first off, I think this row means something to all of us internally. Like yourself, we all have some kind of depression, anxiety, PTSD. It's a chance for us to get out there and manage it, but it's also to get the word out that there are other things you can do out there, to stay in the community, stay in the tribe, stay active. I found myself before this, much like Roy, just hanging around, all depressed, came back as a contractor. What am I going to do? Looking for something to do. And ever since I've come on board, my wife's like seen a different side of me. But like anything else, you got to look at, the end. I can't fall off, so we're already preparing for the end. I've made it clear this is one time in a lifetime to make a difference, helping veterans, doing something like this where I'm putting my life on the line, or the whole team's putting their life on the line. The word needs to get out. Again, I think we're starting to sugarcoat because the war's been over for a couple of years. Everything's starting to fall to the wayside. I was told that there's 40,000 nonprofits out there to help veterans. But out of those 40,000, realistically, there's only 12,000 that actually really help the veterans. The other ones are somebody did a road march, did a one time, but they're still on the books as a nonprofit that's out there. I'd love to see this keep going, or team up with RangeOars Row and have a double team, doing two different things, for different foundations.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what special operations does, right? We build and we improve. And then you said something, Mike, that I think is something that was really, really special, is is when your loved ones start seeing a difference, right? You may not personally see that difference, but when you start getting your loved ones identifying, hey, I'm seeing that you now have a mission, and I'm seeing a whole new side of you. It's just a proof that when veterans find a mission, and you guys are passionate, obviously, and to do what you do in the training and the actual event, you have to have passion and drive. But it's just something special where, uh, and it hits home that how important that the purpose, the mission, the identity is, especially when we get out. Um, so yeah, so Jerry, is it kind of to similar? And I'm saving Chris last because he's
Now,
he's still in, but
mine's different. I don't talk about this much, but 2012, when I was getting put out to pasture, getting retired, medically retired, I got the pistol out, downed a whole bottle, and just left it up to fate. And woke up the next morning still here. Thank God, I didn't have the courage to do it. And ever since then, I've been on a journey to try to heal myself, get as close to. I want to see glimpses of the guy I was before the military. That's what I'm
yes,
trying to do. Yeah,
and it's hard, right?
yeah,
Is being able to get back into, the military is a great thing, but we will inevitably take that uniform off,
hmm
and it's that person who we are. And I know, and I never will say a bad thing of what the military has taught me. But yeah, that uniform is no longer on. What do I do?
yeah,
Right. And I know, Christian, I know, we both talked about this on our first episode, is that the importance of having a new mission and being able to identify that and get a community and work towards a common goal.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I truly think that no matter what, if you got out within 1 year due to medical discharge, or you got out after 30, if you don't find that mission, it's not going to go well because it's so ingrained to you. No matter what, it's just put into your soul, or it unlocks something into you. I mean, that's the way I was, and finding a mission is the most important thing that you could possibly do. And so seeing the mission that y'all have together, and that you are not trying to keep, I don't want to call it just gatekeeping it, but you're just like, please, this quote unquote rival team, like rival organization, no, let's do this together, because there's no point in doing it separately and not. And I just thought of something kind of cool. It'd be awesome. It'd be a fun thing to see if y'all decided to do this. If one of y'all's team take off from the Pacific and one of the y'all's take off heading towards the Atlantic, and try to get to the Pacific and the Atlantic at the same time.
That'd be something. If Courser Racing and RangeOars Row, collaborate in the future after this, provided we all are still talking after this row, living on a boat that small for a month and a half.
We'll find out.
I would love to crew a boat on both the Atlantic and the Pacific in the next couple of years. At the same. They don't race at the same time. The Atlantic race starts in December. That's the lowest threat of hurricanes on the Atlantic, and then June for the Pacific, with the lowest threat of the tropical storms out there.
So I didn't even think about this random hurricanes, not just the fact that you're in the middle of the ocean. You go, nope, there's hurricanes out there too.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna have to call y'all once you're done, because I want to know about mermaids. And Dragon, you got to tell us like any sea folk story after being in the middle of the ocean for 30 days.
Tell them about the marlin strikes.
I'll take all the dragons and all the mermaids you can throw at us. Just keep the marlins away.
Yeah, you might see some with the lack of sleep. Now, Chris, though, being just almost about to retire, kind of what do you see, with the stigma, and what do you see as this being helpful for you, having this purpose and mission, in the transition? Because I know transition was tough. It was tough for a lot of people, and that the preparing for a new chapter in your life.
I think the toughest part for me my retirement kind of lined up with, once I finished my deployment, my then retirement transition could start. So about 2 months after I retired or got back from Syria, it was like, okay, bud, like, you're retiring, you're staying in, and I just had a new kid, and It's like, no, gonna retire, gonna end it here. It's been fun. And at that point was very accepting of that and totally 100%. And then as the months struck by, my team kept doing team things, and I was kind of put off to the wayside, just because they're busy, they got stuff to do, and I'm kind of doing these little appointments here and there. So I started to get pretty depressed early on. I'd say about 4 months in, of man, I'm not a part of that big thing that I used to be a part of, and all of my guys that I've bled and fought with have they're still bleeding, and I'm putting the band-aids on finally or whatever. So my buddy, former teammate of mine, Blake, calls me up out of the blue. He sends me this crazy text where it's the world's toughest row, and it's kind of like their website blurb of like what it is. And Blake's always into weird stuff, and so I didn't even look at it really. And he calls me and he's like, "Hey man, what do you think?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. That's a really cool thing." and then he goes, "Well, do you want to do it with me?" And then I was like, "Stand by." And I had to open it up and actually look at it. Uh, and I'm the kind of guy that would rather be on a hide site pooping in a bag in hot weather than being on the couch or in a nice place. So immediately for me it was, I'm going to do this because it's hard or it looks hard, and I'm going to be in a little bit of uncomfortable pain, which is something I'm lacking in my life at the moment. Then as we started, kind of forming the nonprofit and doing our training rows and everything else, we were like, dude, this is really good for us. We're a team again. We have this like mission. We have a focus. Guys are getting tasks done. It truly did feel like an ODA. So we from there kind of morphed our nonprofit into a nonprofit that can just bring as many guys as we can on the boat and do the world's toughest row, both Atlantic Pacific, but also try to host shorter 3 to 5 day rows as like an adventure therapy for guys.
Nice. That's
So
awesome.
what I hope to accomplish out of doing the Pacific with RangeOars is, I just want to show vets that the coolest thing you've ever done wasn't when you were 25 or in your 30s or whatever. You can keep doing cool stuff, and keep having that team with you, if you seek it out. So that's my hope. I think it's not going to end soldier suicide or veteran suicide, but I really do think it helps chip at it, just like every other organization that does different things.
Yeah, and I think you're right. Is we can't end it quickly, but we could sure as hell chip away at it. And that's what you guys are doing. What nonprofits are you guys working with? I know you guys kind of have a couple that you guys talked about, but what have you guys kind of done to raise awareness for this?
So when we first formed the nonprofit and gathered the team, the race isn't so the race is designed in a way that you can't even enter the race without raising money for a chosen charity. One or more, it's up to the team. There's no prize money for this race. You get some bragging rights, maybe an opportunity to break a world record, in a number of different categories. But when we all first gathered to talk about it, we all had our own ideas about who we wanted to raise money for. So immediately we thought of, maybe we needed somebody with some clout to put on the boat. And unanimously we came up with the Gary Sinise Foundation. We reached out to them, got permission to use their branding. Told them that we wanted to raise some money for them because we love what Gary Sinise is doing, with the veteran community. And then there are a couple of small special operations foundations, Three Rangers Foundation, and Hard Rock Charlie Foundation that are pretty close to our hearts at the kind of the micro level within the special operations community. And we recently picked up Mike can speak a little bit more about this because he introduced us to a cat named Special Forces brother named Chris Cathers, the founder of Brothers Keeper Veteran Foundation. Mike, you can talk a little bit about how that.
I went to do a little research. I kept getting stuff on my Facebook about Brothers Keeper Veteran Foundation and their gala. So I wanted to learn a little bit more on the gala because Roy was going to be putting some stuff together, or we may be running the gala. So, as a good SF guy, go do your homework and research. Got some tickets. My wife and I went there, and from the start, I was just totally impressed on how they did everything. Really didn't know too much about them. I met Nick Laverly, couple other people there, but I got to hear Chris speak, and I mean, after hearing him speak, my wife turned to me and she's like, "This is who you need to be raising money for." Yeah. Their mission aligns with our mission. They're not incredibly huge, but I think the biggest thing is I got about a minute with Chris when everything was over, handed him my card and was like, "Hey, give me a call. We need to talk." And he's like, "No problem." That was a Saturday. Probably Monday morning, I got a call from Sarah, his second, saying, finding out a little bit about who we are, what our mission was. I explained it to her. And we found out a lot of stuff the hard way, that these large foundations, we're really nothing to them when they're receiving $1 million or more at any given time. Chris actually called me up, set up a video conference. I mean, how many people from a foundation or the owner of a foundation will take the time and call you and have a conversation? One, I thought that was a positive tick mark right off the bat. I brought it up to the team, brought up my concerns. I said, "Hey, let's take the time and have a meeting with him. Let him answer your questions." I think by this time we were all down at Roy's house doing the boat inspection, the first initial boat inspection, and he set everything up, and we had our first meeting with Chris, and he came off he's a really good guy, supported our mission, thought that we're intensely crazy. Can't believe, and I'll use the word knuckle draggers or, 5 SF guys, 4 SF guys, what we have accomplished in such a short time as a team or as a tribe, I like to say. And we haven't stopped. He's always been there to answer our questions. He's shown up to events. He's helped us. Sarah's promoted us on their website. If we've needed something, he's been there to facilitate and help us out.
Yeah.
And that's what we wanted as a team. This is a partnership at the end of the day. I think we were hoping have the big name. The big name's going to draw the money in and help us out. And it really, I don't think it's worked to our advantage.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, there are these massive nonprofits that are doing great things. But it's also awesome to get the smaller groups. And I've met Chris. I was at the gala. I've met Sarah and worked with Sarah, and just remarkable organization through and through. But how can we, and both of those organizations are in Nashville, right? And so how can Nashville, and other places, but how can everyone follow your story, get a hold of you, and donate to this great cause?
Yeah, they so RangeOars Row is the name of the nonprofit. It's RangeOars
.org, right?
.org.
Okay.
So that's our name on Instagram and Facebook. It's it's a play on the Rangers Lead the Way thing. We're throwing the word "or" in there because a lot of teams do that. But go to the website rangeoursrow.org. There are plenty of places on each of the landing pages there, for a link to donate. There's a support us page with a number of different ways to support, either through sponsorship, individual donations, helping with equipment and services that we need. A couple different levels that people can get in on for certain benefits. We're going to be printing out some new challenge coins, photographs of the team, or at different sponsorship levels, we'll take the boat out, to your headquarters for a day, and as long as it doesn't, interrupt with, deconflict with training and other fundraising events, but either pre or post race. But yeah.
If it comes down to it, y'all got to do a calendar. That's the only way I see it.
Yeah.
Oh, we got a calendar, and it's pretty
We
full.
probably need to push a public calendar out. We don't.
Hey, there we go. And they'll always draw the numbers, won't it?
Yeah. So
Yeah, I would say to add on to Roy's stuff, also Instagram. We're on social media. Definitely check out social media or Instagram page. All the updates are really being pushed onto there. And then, as the race gets closer, there's a site that can track us, and that'll be posted on Instagram as well, so that
that'll be good.
People can really follow us as we do our journey. It updates every 4 hours, so you could essentially see us every step of the way, which is
live vicariously through you guys.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Out of curiosity, y'all gonna have like Starlink or anything along those lines that'll keep you connected to the internet?
I'm glad you mentioned the communications package.
Yep.
So the World's Toughest Row operates their media kind of like the military PAO's office, right? So all the content that we create on the boat out on the ocean will have to go into a folder. We'll have 3 satellite phones and a BGAN satellite dish, which is mandatory rental through a partner with World's Toughest Row.
Keyword mandatory.
Mandatory. I'll get to Starlink in a second.
Yeah.
So all of our content goes to them. They approve content and move it into another folder for our social media manager, because they don't want, obviously they don't want crews out there, making fools out of themselves. And
they don't want y'all wigging out on camera, just like live streaming.
Facebook Live, and there's like 3 knuckleheads rowing naked across the ocean.
Yeah. That's day 15.
That's day 15.
There's 3 Ranger bat boys on this boat. I mean, a lot of crazy stuff can get posted.
Yeah.
3 bat boys, and there's 2 SF dudes like hogtied in the middle of the boat.
It's gonna be a good one. I mean, just like y'all are gonna face some stream in the middle of the night, and it's like, yep, this is just seeing what we're seeing. It's dark.
The live streaming is kind of difficult right now. There are teams that raced the last Atlantic race that took Starlinks out, but I don't know exactly how they were using them. Our initial contact with World's Toughest Row about having a Starlink out there was like, no, do it. You need to rent our package. But I think they're coming around to it. I think it'll be a couple more years. I think what their worry is, I don't think they're confident in its reliability out on the open ocean.
Okay.
But if you talk to boat owners that have Starlink on their vessels, it's like the best thing since sliced bread. out
It's
there.
just the marketing. It's the contracts, and they
Oh, yeah.
don't have a contract with Starlink.
That's
There
right.
we go. There we go. That's what it is.
Well, yeah. So
But I know as we start to wrap up here, one of my favorite things I like to do is I like to ask all of our guests of their fondest memory of their time in service. I mean, it can be just something just stupid, ridiculous. Like our doc last week told us about a time he just smashed his face in just by viewing IR. Funny thing. So just whatever y'all's most fond memory is. I mean, just in a couple minutes. And Mike, if we can start with you, sir, that would be amazing.
I would probably say we had a fall store breach in training, and me being so motivated, I went, tried to bust through the door, and just made an ass of myself. So I'd say that's one of my fondest memories that I still remember to this day.
It must have just been a strong door. That's all it is. All right.
We're
Well,
not-
how about you, sir?
Not enough pee for plenty.
Yeah.
no, I plenty of fond memories, but one that really sticks out. PV2 Emerson and Charlie Company, 1st Ranger Battalion. We were up at Fort Bragg doing breaching out on outer cordon. We're breaching the wire, and the whole thing. If you've ever heard about throwing the private over the concertina, so
Yep,
the
for
entire
sure.
squad can run across their back. Well, there was Private Emerson, belly down over the concertina, while the whole squad runs over my back to complete the breach, and then later having to low crawl back to the breach because I left the master key there.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Hey, it's just
that's a
like
good
one of
one.
those motivators. He's ready. He's ready for whatever it takes.
Yeah, that was a long day.
All right, Chris, and you, sir.
Yeah, without getting into any like war type stuff, one story pops to mind is out in Sears School. They had us butt naked in like a
Hell yeah.
like
Hell
a
yeah.
wood chip like little corral, and they were spraying us with a hose, and they're making us roll left and right, and they just kept saying roll left, roll right, roll left, roll right, and everyone started getting out of sync. And I remember me and this dude came together and high five tips, and
Yeah.
we paused, and I was like, dude, I'm so sorry. He went, I don't give a fuck, man. And then we just rolled away. I don't know why the Sears School story, that's the one I tell, because it's just like, you're just so low, you don't really care anymore about anything.
That's the terrorist organization's new torture technique. It's rolling naked.
Yeah.
All right, Jerry, and you, sir, please.
I don't really have a specific memory, but it definitely would be when, like most of my time at Ranger Bat, once I was Spec 4. Like Spec 4 Mafia was so much fun, just tearing up privates, running the show, running amok, and then running amok downtown was probably some of my favorite memories.
Nice. All good things. Well, all right, gentlemen. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your guys' busy day to hop on here and just share to the world what this row is, but more importantly, what this row means to you guys. And Chris, I'll go back to you. Like, that's it, right? We chip away at it. We've identified a problem, and we chip away, and we don't quit until we chipped all away. So I thank that. Commend all you guys for stepping up to the plate, for doing this, and I look forward to watching you guys and seeing what you guys can accomplish afterwards as well.
Yeah, and when is the race? When is it coming up?
We launch on June 7th.
Okay, so we got to have y'all back on the pod post race, and just
and-
go over because I will be waiting for my mermaid stories.
Yeah, we'll have
It's
music
big.
for it.
Gentlemen,
favorite
I would be
moments.
remiss if I didn't just give a quick shout out to a couple organizations that without them,
Please.
we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have the boat without Evco Mechanical here in New Jersey. We wouldn't have the race fees without Wounded Warrior Project. Dr. Vera Gupta with all that she's doing to help us, Dixon Graphics, Heroes Bar. There's so many others, but those are just some of the major players that got us kickstarted, and that we are just now in the next couple days going to be like super in the black, where every dollar that starts rolling in is going to help a veteran.
God,
That's awesome.
that has to be such a good feeling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Good.
A long road to get there, but the challenge was well worth it.
And our families for supporting what we're doing.
For sure. Well, gents, truly thank you. We are truly grateful for y'all. Thank y'all for your service, for everything that you're doing for our community, for our brothers and sisters who don't know they need the help, but they need it. So, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. For the Nashville community, we want to thank you guys so much.
Thanks, Christian. Thanks,
Thank
Pastor.
you.
Thanks, Christian.
Thanks, guys.